This is one of the questions we have received at PAN. What is the process for becoming a notary and renewing as a notary? So, what is the process? So, let's take a look at the process for becoming a notary. First thing you need to do is you're going to complete education, 3 hours of state approved education. Next, you're going to submit your application. It's a $42 state application fee. It's going to be submitted to the Department of State. They will review it and they'll either approve or deny your application. Now, if you're a PAN member, which I'm assuming majority of us are in the room, we review and submit your application to the state for you, and the $42 state application fee is included in your package price. Next, you will need to pass an exam. You need to score a scaled score of 75 or higher in order to pass. Once you pass the exam, the state's going to appoint you as a notary, and you will receive a notice to appointee and a notary bond. PAN members, you will receive this from us, your completed notary bond. Non-members, you need to get that on your own through a bonding company. Next, you will go to the recorder of deeds to record your bond, your commission, and take your oath. And lastly, you will head to the pathonetary's office to record your signature. Now, many counties with the recorder of deeds and the pathonetary, these are at the same location. So, all in all, this process could take anywhere from 4 to 8 weeks. Just depends on how quickly you schedule and pass your exam after submitting your application. And once you pass, how quickly you complete the commissioning process. Now, for renewing notaries, you're going to follow the same process that you see on the screen here, minus the exam. Now, there is a scenario where renewing notaries would need to take the exam, and we will cover that in our next question. And now, if you are renewing anywhere from 3 to 6 months before your commission expires, you will need to, you will end up seeing your reappointment notice from the Department of State around 6 to 8 weeks before your commission expiration date. That is what most notaries do, and that's actually what we recommend at PAN, starting the process around 3 to 6 months. Now, if you are renewing closer to your expiration date, let's say you have 3 weeks before you expire, you will end up seeing your reappointment notice from the Department of State within a couple of weeks. They will typically speed up your process, unless you are busy. They're busy during the election season. So waiting closer to your expiration date to start the renewal process is definitely risky and something we do not recommend at PAN. As a notary, it's important to not let your commission expire, um, or you will need to take the exam, which is kind of what we're going to talk about here with question 2. So the second question we get at PAN: am I required to take a notary exam to renew my notary? The majority of the time, the answer is no. You don't need to take the exam to renew. But if you wait too long and your commission lapses before submitting your reappointment application to the Department of State, you will need to take the exam to renew your commission. So again, that's why we recommend a PAN starting the renewal process between 3 to 6 months before your commission expires. Question 3. How much can I charge for a document with 3 names on it? How much you can charge in this scenario will depend on how the document's set up and which notary act you are performing. Let's take a look at the document. So first, let's figure out what type of notary act is being asked of us. So looking at the notary statement that is on the document, we're going to know that we're working with an acknowledgement. So now that we know the act, let's focus on how the document's set up. In this document, we have one acknowledgement statement for 3 customers. This is classified as doing one notarization act for 3 people. Now, let's look at the notary public fee schedule to see what can be charged. So, taking an acknowledgement for one person, we're permitted to charge up to $5 for the notary fee. In our scenario, we've had 3 people on that one acknowledgement statement, which means we're permitted to charge $9 for the notary fee, $5 for the first customer, $2 for each additional name, which comes up with the $9 here. Now let's take a look if the document was set up a little bit differently and how we would handle it. Here you can see the names of the same 3 customers, but the document was designed to have each customer have their own notary statement. So you'll notice on the screen we have a notary statement for Frank, for Rita and Michael. In this scenario, we're doing 3 separate acknowledgement statements. That's going to call for 3 notary signatures and 3 notary stamps. So since we're doing 3 acknowledgements, we're permitted to charge up to $5 per person, which would equal out $15 in this scenario. It's important to remember, since we've had 3 stamps down, we'll want to make sure we make 3 separate complete journal entries. Question 4. My document has 3 spots for me to notarize for the same customer. How do I record that in my journal? So each placement of your notary stamp warrants a separate journal entry. You're not permitted to put ×3 in the remarks section if all the information is the same. Or you're not permitted to use ditto marks to try to indicate the information is the same. An easy rule to remember is going to be 1 stamp down, 1 journal entry. So if you notarize 3 times, you're required to make 3 separate journal entries, even if all the information is the same. Question 5. What do I do with my notary journals once they are filled or once I retire? Once you fill up a journal, you want to keep it in a secure location where nobody else can access it. Once you retire, resign, or decide you're not going to renew your notary commission, the notary law states you're required to turn it in to the office of the recorder of deeds in the county where you last maintain an office of record. You need to do this within 30 days. Now, something that is not a requirement by law, but PAN does recommend you do before turning in your journals, is to make copies of them before you turn them in for your records. This is a good business practice in case you ever need to reference back to a particular notarization. Question 6. The document requires 2 customers needing notarization. Do both of the customers need to be present at the time of the notarization? Yes, both need to be present. Let's look at this document that was brought to us. This is something commonly occurs. The document calls for both Frank and Rita to sign this acknowledgement. So let's zoom in a little bit here, make it easier to see. So Frank and Rita should be here. Frank is the only one in front of us. Let's say Rita lives in another state and cannot be present. You cannot notarize for Frank, or excuse me, you can notarize for Frank, but you want to make sure you're leaving Rita's part blank. I went far. Sorry. So you want to leave that blank. You want to make sure you don't need to put a line through there like we have recommended in the past for PAN. This is the one exception to the blank space rule. PAN recommends printing Frank T. Seller only right here in the notary statement. If Rita wants it notarized, she can have it notarized in her state by a notary once she receives the document by them adding notary wording and having her sign. Question 7. When notarizing for someone at my company, do I list the home address or the business address in my journal? So the notary law nor the proposed regulations give a definitive answer regarding this. The notary law states full name and address of your customer. When we asked the Department of State for clarity regarding this, the attorney for the state mentioned that they prefer the notary uses the customer's actual home address, but if the notary lists the address of where the notarization took place, for example, the business location, the notary is not wrong either. So, in our journal entry, you can fill in the address with either the customer's home address, or you could use the location where the notarization took place. Both of them are acceptable. Question 8. Can I identify my customer using an expired driver's license? The notary law states to accept an ID, it needs to be government issued, needs to be current, so not expired, needs to contain a signature or a photograph of the customer, and lastly, it needs to be satisfactory to the notary. An expired driver's license by itself is not acceptable, but if the customer has a current signed camera card that can accompany the expired driver's license, this could be acceptable. Question 9. can I notarize for someone who's named in the document with their maiden name, but whose ID has their married name? PAN recommends that the person named in the document matches the name on the ID they present to you. Ultimately, it's your responsibility to make sure the person that needs the document notarized is the person in front of you. In this scenario, the document has the name Janice Ann Johnson, but the driver's license reads Janice Ann Sample. We would not recommend notarizing in this situation. We would recommend the customer reach out to whomever drew up the document and have them correct it with the new married name. Last but not least, we got question 10. How do you notarize a document without notary wording? This is a question we get probably daily at PAN, and we've done a few walkthrough videos and webinars on this topic, but here is a short explanation on how to handle this. There's no notary wording on this document that you see on your screen. You can't just stamp and sign it. That is not permitted. You have two options. You can refuse to notarize, or if you want to assist your customer, you can ask the customer which notary act they want you to complete. Remember, if you are not an attorney, you may not offer legal advice or make decisions for your customer on what act they want. If you can offer the customer options and allow them to choose the notary act themselves. So you can advise them, you can make it a verification, witnessing or attesting a signature, or an acknowledgement, but they need to decide the act. If the customer cannot choose the notary act, you must refuse to notarize. If the customer can choose the act, with permission, you may add or attach notary wording and complete the notarization. After asking Matthew Mason which notary act he wants, he chooses an acknowledgement. So with his permission, we add a venue and the acknowledgement statement, and we'll go ahead and complete our notary wording and complete the notarization. So that's how you handle a document without notary wording. And Brian did us a huge favor. He put a link to our YouTube channel. Is that a video directly to that one?
No, it's the general YouTube channel, John.
Awesome. So that link there will take you directly to our YouTube channel, which we have prior webinars on this topic. Myself and Crystal Ann have actually did a walkthrough video together on this topic. And we kind of acted out. She's a better actress than I am. I'll give her that. She has experience.
You're not an actress at all.
But all in all, there's a lot of good content on the YouTube page. So if you haven't liked and followed it yet, give it a try. I think what you'll like what you see on there. But that was our top 10 questions of 2023. So that was the presentation. Let's open up the floor to some Q&A here.
So as soon as you have a question, go ahead and pop that question into the chat area. We will wait patiently.
And it could be pretty much on anything for, for notary. Something on your mind. This is definitely now the time to share your question.
I will be moving soon and changing counties. Do I need to register with the new county as soon as I move, or only once my commission renews? You are required to do a change of address with the state when you move. Now, I'm assuming you mean your office of record address. If you're meaning your office of record address, then when you change counties, you are required to register your signature with the Prothonotary in the new county within 30 days. And you are also required to get a new notary stamp with a new county on it. And you are not supposed to notarize until you receive that new stamp.
Right.
And she clarified, yep.
All right, good. I'll take the next one.
Awesome.
So Marcia said the example of adding the notary wording to the document Are we able to handwrite that notary wording on the document, or do we need to type it on? Yes, Marcia, you can definitely handwrite it on. I recommend with pen, either blue ink or black ink. So you can handwrite it on. You could also stamp it on as well. We sell stampers, venue stampers, and we sell the notary wording stampers as well. They're quite nice and it looks very professional.
All right. Going back to the first example, 3 signing, 1 stamp. We need to list all 3 in the notary log. Would this be an exception to the 1 stamp, 1 entry? So yeah, in that example, we had 3 customers on 1 notary statement, and we placed 1 stamp down. So technically, that's 1 notary act, and you want to use, the 1 journal entry. That's going to be extremely difficult to fit in the 1 spot. So I think Brian's looking.
I'm looking to see if I can find my example.
Yeah, because we have
What
an
to
example,
do,
and then
yeah.
we'll give Brian a little bit of time to pull it up, but it's going to be better to show a visual along with it. But if you could squeeze it all in 1 line, you can. That's probably not going to be easy to do. So what we do recommend you doing is using additional lines, and then there will be information you want to cross out and mention in the remarks section that this is going along with the top journal entry. But Brian's going to pull that up here shortly, and then we'll go over that in more detail. We'll circle back to it.
Am I up again? No, I don't have any questions yet. So
Nothing yet. So
so let me keep looking.
and while he's looking, if any other questions roll in,
Yeah,
we'll definitely answer
I'll take
those.
that over. I'll take it over if he's still looking.
I can do it.
Okay. He's a man of many talents.
Oh,
Good
okay.
job,
No,
bud.
if it comes in. So what am I going to do here? I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint. I want to.
And what I'm doing now, since we do have time, we talked about adding notary wording. We sell a stamp bundle on our website. It includes the venue stamp and the 3 notary acts you could potentially add to the document. So that's something to check out if you come across a lot of documents without notary wording and you typically add it on there. That's definitely a nice bundle to have. The stamps are great.
So
Thank you.
Shelly has a question. Brian, would you like to take that?
No, you go ahead.
Okay. So oh.
Never mind. You go ahead and I'm going to fix this. I
Okay.
promise.
I lost the question actually.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. It's
I
okay.
probably covered it up,
There
right?
we go. Where we go. No, we're good. We're good. Here it is. It just went somewhere else. So someone signing for an LLC, they do not always have something showing that they can sign on the behalf of the LLC. Any suggestions? Well, you always have the right to refuse to notarize. That is always your option if you'd like, or you can do an acknowledgement in a representative capacity. And you could say that that person is authorized to act on behalf of whatever the company is. Would anybody like to add to that?
No, I agree. Like you said, someone signing for the LLC. And if if this is somebody you have prior dealings with and you understand that they have the authority to sign for them, then I'd be okay with it. But yeah, you definitely want to have that understanding and know for a fact that they have the authority to do so.
Yeah, I think the only time you really absolutely must have the proof is when you're doing motor vehicle forms.
Mm-hmm.
They actually require that you have proof that they have the authority to act on behalf of the business. So getting back to the question about 1 stamp, 1 entry. So this is a slightly different example. Let's imagine a mortgage, and the mortgage has been signed by both Frank T. and Ruth A. Seller. So it's the same example, except we dropped Michael. He's off in the wind somewhere. So they were both listed in that 1 notary statement, that 1 acknowledgement, and the notary signed and stamped 1 time. So this is the first way I might suggest getting the information into the journal. So we have everyone on 1 line and we didn't really need extra lines to fit all that information. And apparently it looks like the notary knew both of these people personally. It gets a little more complicated when you start not using personal knowledge. For example, they have different information on their individual driver's licenses, such as, issue and expiration dates, which would be very difficult to fit on that one line. So what I'm showing here, it's still that same scenario where we have signed and stamped one time, and each customer has their signature listed in that one, their name listed in that one notary statement. What I've done here, I've listed the second customer's information on this second line. I'm showing that it's still the same notarization by putting an X over the next consecutive line number here, 02, and here, 02. I've only used that second line for the second customer's information, and I have drawn a line through the rest of the space that we're not using. To translate that into John's example with 3 signers and 1 notarization, you might just use a third line and put the X over the 3 on both ends, and again use that third line only for the information about that third customer.
Awesome. No, that's the visual always adds a little bit more to it. So,
That's great that you're able to find it.
thanks, Brian.
You're welcome.
I see
Anytime.
Marcia popped in with a question. It says, verifications on oath or affirmations. Just want to make sure I'm doing these properly. I'm verbally reading the oath or affirmation and having them raise their hand too. Is this correct? Yeah, so the notary statement for a verification on oath reads signed and sworn to before me. So the oath is one of the first steps you want to do. You perform the oath to them. It is optional that you raise your right hand. It's recommended. So if you're doing it, continue to do it. It's not going to harm whatsoever. And then once they do swear to the oath, make sure they are signing in your presence. That is something that goes along with that. And then, yeah, it sounds like you're doing everything the right way.
And a question from Donna. You are asked to notarize a document in a different language, which you can't read. Provided the notary wording is in a language you do understand, can the document be notarized, or should you refuse? The law is actually more specific. It indicates that the notary language needs to be in English. So the document can be in any language. Whether you can read it or not is not an issue, but the notary language does need to be in English.
Great, thank you. Next one, Brooke says, am I able to notarize sales of vehicles like cars, trucks, dump trucks, or would that be a separate class? There are limited things that we can do as a notary when it comes to notarizing documents pertaining to motor vehicles. I recommend not notarizing these things until you get further education. And there is a lot that you cannot do unless you have a contract with PennDOT, and PennDOT requires that you get further education before you can work with any of that stuff.
Totally agree. Yeah, if you're notarizing a title, they're still going to need to go to a tag and title place and have the paperwork processed anyways. So instead of making that small error that could cost you some money, let them go to the professionals that were trained for that. And if you're interested in becoming a PennDOT agent, visit our website under our education. We have motor vehicle classes starting. You could search for a basic class, and we can get you started in the right way. Where we at here? Where Savvy says, this is a question in regards to being a PAN member. I want to get back into notary work. My former employer paid for everything for PAN, so I'm unsure of the fees and how long it lasts for. I had asked her at the time about errors and omissions insurance, but she said she took care of everything and it was covered by PAN. Can you tell me the fee, length of coverage, and if errors and omissions is covered? So what I would highly recommend you do is, after the webinar here today, give a call into our member service department. Their number that Crystal Ann just shared, it's 800-944-8790. What they could do is pull you up by your name, and they could tell you if you're still a PAN member with us, because the membership's good for 4 years. Unless the employer called and requested a refund, you're going to be a member with us, and then we could tell you where you stand with us. And then if you do need to renew, they can get you the fees and the timelines on what you need to do. So that's exactly what I would recommend doing.
Ruslan's a lot faster than I am, and I typed the number wrong. So
Oh, did you? I didn't even.
I deleted my comment. I'm like, well, not leaving that up.
I didn't even notice
I
that.
left the 9 out.
Oh.
So any other questions that you might have? Now is the time to put them in the chat area.
Yeah,
We
good
have the
mix of
room.
questions for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Things that have made me think. I mean, I hadn't thought about the foreign language thing in a long time.
Question comes up in my live seminars.
Yeah. Give it another minute or so, see if anything else rolls in. In the meantime, if you don't have a question, but you do have a topic that you think we should cover in an upcoming webinar, feel free to put it in the chat box. We're always looking for different ideas. We're going to try to do a webinar once a quarter, so 4 times a year. That's what we're looking to do. So keep a lookout for one coming up potentially in the summer. That's what we're going to aim for.
Whose turn is it to answer questions?
Me.
I think
It's you.
So from Jeanette, if you are not active in using Notary Stamp, will it become inactive before expiring? No, Jeanette, your Notary commission is good from the first day of your commission date to the day of your commission expiration, whether you're using it or not. You're an active notary. But you do want to keep your stamp secured at all times, particularly when you're not using it.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm a notary myself, and I don't think I've notarized in the past 4 or 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been a while.
I've got you beat.
When's the last time when you notarized?
Last year.
Really? Yeah,
neighbor.
it's been a while. I mean, friends and family, once they find out, you're a notary, that's who I'll typically help out from time to time. But yeah, it's been a while.
Apparently, you don't have any friends or family anymore, right?
Hey, that's easy for me.
At least they've rejected you.
All right, we'll give it another, 30 seconds or so, see if anything else rolls in. Or like I mentioned, if you have a idea for a webinar topic, please don't be shy. There are no wrong suggestions. We're always looking for something different to talk about.
I posted a link so that you can leave a review on Google if you would like to. We're always thrilled to hear positive things about ourselves. Here's the thing, and I always say this. If you're unhappy about anything, a transaction, an interaction, we would much prefer that you contact us directly and let us make it right. I mean, you can leave a negative review at any time you'd like to. That's your right, but we'd much rather have the opportunity to fix the issue for you.
Yeah, 100%. We would love to see if you leave us a Google review. I mean, that's something that we are very proud of.
Is this one for me?
That's for.
I think you just answered, so I think it's my turn.
Okay.
Yep.
So what's the rule on guided signatures? I've had in the past 3 patients that understood the document, but they couldn't hold the pen upright. So you can have someone assist them with signing their signature. So the assistant can have their hand underneath while the assistant is holding the pen. And then the patient, the customer, can have their hand on top, and together they make the signature. The helper should not be somebody who's going to benefit from that transaction or that notarization in any sort of way.
Awesome. So are there any practice scenarios available? Excuse me, there is. I just put the link to our member portal. What I'm going to do really quick, because not everybody's familiar with our member portal, is I'm going to share my screen. So hopefully you can see it here. When you log in, so I'm logged in currently, you will click log in. Make sure you know your customer number and then your password. If you're unfamiliar with that, again, contact our member service team. They'll be able to assist you. But if you're in the member portal, scroll down, and then on the right-hand side, you're going to see a bunch of things. PAN forms, there's motor vehicle information, but here's tutorials. And if you click on tutorials, we're going to have a good bit of tutorials. They're walkthrough videos. Some of them are interactive and practice related. We have a practice exam prep if you want to go in there and test your knowledge, but that's good to practice for the exam if you're a first timer. But tons of tutorials in here. So if you're unfamiliar with that, definitely check it out. It is definitely useful.
I guess I'm next if we have another question. If we don't get any more questions in the next few minutes, we're going to go ahead and say goodbye.
We appreciate everybody attending today for sure. We enjoy doing these. It's a service to our members, but just to notaries in general. So thank you for being here for sure.
Another question from Shelley having to do with the guided signature or the assisted signature. Must you note that in your journal? It's not a requirement, but it would be highly recommended that in the remarks section, you would indicate that the actual customer wasn't unable to hold the writing utensil on their own, and that list the name of the person was holding the pen for them. That's what I would recommend.
Same.
It's also best practice when somebody is using an assisted signature that this should be witnessed and signed by 2 additional people. I should have mentioned that earlier.
About 11:38.
Not too bad.
We've been here for 40 minutes almost.
Time flies.
It's time to retire, I think. Not to bed, but from work.
I'm a little too young. I don't think I'll be able to retire for quite a while.
And if I retire, you've got a lot of work on your hands. So
Oof, please don't
remember that.
retire. Please
Okay.
don't retire, Brian. We need you. We need you.
Well, thank you. Have a great weekend as well, Jeanette there. Let's see here. Thank you. Appreciate that. Awesome. Yeah, we will work on doing more of these webinars. That is going to be our goal. Got a little busy with our up and coming Zooms that we were doing. They kind of took off better than we expected, so they were tough to juggle everything. But I think we got things under control, and now we can start doing these more frequently for everybody out there. So, thank you for being here, everybody. Looks like everybody's starting to say thanks for doing this, and they're signing off. Brian's not allowed to retire, Barbara says. And
Shelley actually, thank you. Shelley actually said that she has the notary wording stamps, and they're a great, what did she say? A great purchase.
Awesome. Yeah, I totally agree. The times I do notarize, believe it or not, I use them more often than not because there's just not proper wording. So awesome. Thanks for being here, everybody. Stay safe out there. Have a good weekend, and hopefully we see you next time.